fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Welcome back, Star Trek Fleet Commanders, and today, hopefully a little bit of a positive news cycle for you players in the 40 and up range. So we will, of course, be continuing our conversation about Xindi, because that has kind of been the theme of this month, is lots and lots of Xindi. You know, the storyline I liked the least in Enterprise. Loved Season 4, like Season 1. But anyway, more Xindi this month, and I would say this is good news. So thankfully, the Overlords have heard your cries and have made adjustments to the grind. And I will also say that I'm surprised at the amount of adjustments. So today's video is going to cover two topics. Number one, we're going to talk about the Xindi loot exchange being improved. And number two, we're going to talk very briefly about the Prime critical damage floor and the free-to-play version, how exactly they work, so that you have a better understanding. We'll start with this one actually, because I actually feel like it's the easiest. And that way, if you've been debating on whether you're going to make a purchase, because like it or not, ladies and gentlemen, people make purchases in this game, and that's what keeps it afloat and keeps it alive and allows them to buy who knows what Scopely's buying. Probably like fancy shoes with gold tips, but I don't know. Anyway, what does Prime critical damage floor do? So it's going to give you a brand new currency, because yay, new currencies, the Prime Orbit Medallion. And this is another 100% to your critical damage floor. What does critical damage floor mean? That means that there are currently crews and hostiles, like these new Xindi hostiles, that make it to where you will go below your normal damage modifier and even zero out your damage, as we've shown in logs, where you'll deal 0 damage when you hit a critical. Now, the good news is, if you are somebody who invests in the Prime or the free-to-play or both, this affects PvE and PvP. So the benefit is, as you level things up, so here's the favor for it. This favor maxes out at 100%, just as the Prime does. So that means you can have a maximum currently of 200% critical damage floor. It means that number one, your PvP or PvE hits cannot be zeroed out, so you will deal damage. And if you raise it to 200%, definitely guaranteeing you're dealing some extra damage when you hit a critical, instead of just your standard damage, even if you had like hull breach as a modifier and then isolated damage, etc. after the fact. So that's how that works. Now let's talk about what has actually changed. So many of y'all have known that the grind for this is pretty rough. Like, it is a pretty hostile grind, you know, pun intended. It's difficult. People have been spending hours. So in response to that, Scopely has adjusted the Xindi scrap exchange. So if you remember, it was 9,000 for me and 22,000 before. Now it's 3,000 for a single pull. They focused on improving the single pull, and just about every player should see about a 3 to 4 times reduction in that overall cost for a single chest pull. And then they also lowered the cost for the big pull, which I was kind of surprised about. Now, not as drastically, about 1.5 to 2 times. Now, we did have this updated in the chart already this morning. If you are in my Discord, strongly encourage you to check it out in our charts channel. But if you're not, join the Discord. And here is the full list of new costs versus old costs. Let's start with the higher levels right here at the bottom, level 61 and above. Because believe it or not, and I know this gets talked about a lot when we have content that's very controversial and honestly feels very expensive to get into. The first thought is to go, oh, well, this is clearly well content. But honestly, this is mid-level content. It just came out so rough. So now 61 plus, their initial chest is 80,000 and it was 400,000. And then their double pull goes from 1.2 down to 600. And you will notice that the rest of these are bracketed in levels of 2 for the most part, with the exception of level 50. So 59 and 60 go down to 65K from 195 and 330 from 500. Continuing on to 57, 58, 45 from 135, and then 230 from 350. 95 down to 30 if you're level 55 or 56, with 240 going down to 160. Again, the double chest pull not getting as much of a reduction, but it is getting a reduction. They did say that they wanted the second pull to still feel like it had a bit of a grind to it, but they wanted to ease up the initial grind. And if you remember, DJ on his show, when he did the math, he said that the loot bundles for the hostiles themselves need to be increased by about a factor of 3. I said that for the players, especially in the 40s, you need about a factor of 4 to 5 at a minimum. I wanted 10, but I knew I was being greedy. So what we've actually gotten here, as you can see, as these line up, you see 53 to 54, you see a 3-time reduction. You see up here at higher levels, you have more than a 3-time reduction. It just depends on what level you're at. If you're level 40 through 41, you only need to get 500 now. Why does that matter? Well, we've shown how augurs and enterprises can go and take down the 40 hostiles, and that way they can actually get some of that loot, especially if the chest drops. And as you increase your favors, you'll be able to get to where the grind does finally get to that, 5 to 10 minutes that we were promised. And it's definitely taking a while to get there, as it does with a lot of loops as they come into the game, but I do appreciate Scopely's quick response. I will flame them when I believe they deserve flaming, and I'll give them credit when I feel like they deserve getting credit. And the fact that we've had this arc launching Tuesday, and it is now beginning of Friday that this was rolled out, so that means they made the decision between Tuesday and Thursday to do this drastic of a reduction. I appreciate. Now, of course, I'll agree with everybody in the comment section who are probably calling me shills right now, that this probably should have been known beforehand. Like, we should never got to this point. And as always, I agree with that. But at the same time, I do appreciate the very quick turnaround to get this adjustment. And depending on what level you are, like for me, level 48 through 49, I go from a 9K down to a 3. And that's a 3-time improvement. And it's almost like they flipped me and DJ's recommendation, because DJ was talking about improving it by 3. I was talking about improving it by 5. His community is generally more in this area. Mine's in the upper areas of the screen, and he flipped it. But you know what? I really am happy with the reduction. Is it still a grind? Absolutely. But for a lot of players, including myself, I can get 3,000 in a singular run. So that's pretty nice. That doesn't make it perfect by any means or any stretch, but with my setup, with my pylum and level 49, so 46 ship, I can get 3 in a run if I'm going against certain runs. Or we've did a video on that. If you missed these, if you missed the Xindi hostile crewing video, I encourage you to check it out. I put it out a couple of days ago. In fact, it's actually one of the most viewed videos we've ever had, and it's starting off very strong. How good of a viewing is it? Well, I'm not even saying this to brag, but like when we did the video, I was like, hey, people need to know this information, and I was really excited about it. And it's actually gotten crazy amounts. So clearly people want to know how to do it. I mean, just to show you, here's the video from a couple days ago, and it's at almost 20,000 views. That's crazy for a video I put out 48 hours ago, 20,000 views. And I didn't even like my own video. So if you're watching, like this video and then go back and like that video so you can have the crews and try to make this easier, because I did say this in the video that the style of crewing wasn't going to adjust. You were still going to do the same style of crewing. You were still going to be using similar things as you would see me talk about in this video. A little bit of revception going on right now. So if you haven't already, check it out. So here's us talking about, using Pipe Monroe Cath, Picard Beverly Cath, etc. So as we talk about these different things and as we try to get the things improved in the game that need improving, I do want to say thank you to Scopely for being, in my opinion, quick on the button there. And then also, I am curious what y'all think as well. So while they didn't change the hostiles themselves, the hostiles are not easy to kill. You do get significantly more, you have a significantly cheaper turn-in cost at every level now, and more realistic goals to attain. And if you want to still grind for the second chest, you can. Now, it's going to cost me a few holes to do that, right? Like, I can do 3,000 in a single hole, but I know I can't do 15,000 even if I went and ground out the 40s or 42s. They also wanted me to pass along a piece of like knowledge / advice. And they specifically said, stop hitting the 35s. Literally, they said that. The reason being is the 35s are basically meant to just be event mission type hostiles, and the goal is to get everybody to start at 40. Now, for those players who are at 40 and 41, I know the difficulty you can have. If you need help, reach out to me or any of the amazing people on our Discord or our Facebook, because believe it or not, we do have augurs and enterprises, etc., taking down the 40 hostiles. So it can be done. It is a difficult patch to be in. We've talked about that before. The 40 and 41 players and like the 50 through 52 players probably have the toughest sets of anybody, just based on the expectations for you to have certain ships. But it can be done. And starting with the 40 plus, you get the traders inside those systems, and they obviously pay out a lot more than a regular Xindi hostile. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I do think that overall this is a good improvement to the game, and I appreciate it coming through so quickly so that now many players won't have to live through as much of a pain point. It's still not the 5-minute grind immediately that was promised, but once you do get the favors maxed out, we talked that before, you get the favors maxed out and you continue along this path, it's actually going to work out pretty nicely. The favors to focus on, remember, prime particle beam delay. I'm gonna preach it until it happens. Prime particle beam delay, get it maxed. Then you're going to have 2 more. You're going to have the critical damage floor and the Xindi escalations. It's just on your screen to show you which ones to focus on. Those 3, get them knocked out and it will improve your gameplay. Let me know if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, etc. Reach out to me. I'm always there, available through DM. Live long and plunder. Stay safe for the Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next Star Trek Fleet Command video. And we are streaming tonight. We're doing some Baldur's Gate and Star Trek. So come check it out over on twitch.tv/RevDeuce.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.